To
world peace. Okay, well
like
today,
said, a lot of people they're protesting in the wrong
18th
places.
of May,
They need to
2025,
identify the
Speaker's Corner.
the
Hello,
real
hello,
power
hello.
brokers and protests there.
I want to talk about two things today. First of all, where we're at in the great struggle around here in Britain, and secondly, the Sky Con as here, and how we're getting on with better understanding there. Yesterday, I was on the big march, about 80,000 or maybe 500,000, I don't know, lots of numbers, but beautiful day, a lot of energy, and more and more people turning out because the Israeli genocide is carrying on, and it is genocide. And on there, our mission was to campaign for Palestine and freedom fighters to unite in common cause. Because if we don't unite in common cause, we will lose. And of course, the other side, they do not want us to unite. So they will be pushing people into the movement to keep us divided. But whatever they say, Israel is the front line in not Israel, Gaza is the front line in defence of all our freedoms, and the Israeli genocide must be defeated. And on that march we had a lot of welcome for our banner, and compared with last time we had more support, less people getting upset about us talking about vaccines, and we were talking about the polio vax. I mean, the idea that the Israelis who are killing babies on a daily basis will then have one day opened the doors and allowed to help the babies by a polio vax is insane. The polio vax causes polio. It's all part of the genocide agenda. But people who don't see that, I would say, have diminished in number. Okay, so we have more support for that statement, which was a good thing. And then when we talked about the Sky Con, we had a lot of interest in that. Of course it's complicated, and again there's confusions being spread to prevent us understanding everything. But I'll tell you a couple of things. First of all, the last few weeks, well, most of April and early May was sunny here and cold and wet in Spain. Okay, now people say, oh, it's all caused by chemtrails. No, look, it was sunny here and colder and wetter there because there was high pressure here and into the Atlantic and lower pressure in Europe. So a north wind in Europe, cold and wet in Spain with low pressure. Here, sunny. But there were chemtrails in both places. So the chemtrails weren't causing either. The chemtrails were just happening as well. Let's understand it. You see, anything they do is not that easy compared with the weather. Look, the whole world's weather is part of the whole world's weather. Here's an imaginary thing, the jet stream, all right? The jet stream goes around the world, right? Now, the jet stream is wiggling around all the time. These lots of things are happening. It's driven by another part of the jet stream and so on. And imagine that yellow bit is us. Well, okay, to control what us is doing, you've got to control the whole jet stream. You understand it? It's a world weather system. And what is the jet stream run by? It's controlled by the sun, 93 million miles away, great coronal holes, 20 times the size of the Earth, sending out particles at 1,000,000 miles an hour. And you think that you can have a little shed in North America projecting HARP at 4 megawatts can defeat the sun? It's insane. It is absolutely, totally insane. And if you look at the amount of dust required, what Krakatoa put in the atmosphere, you would need all the aeroplanes in the world flying for every day for 3 years to produce as much dust as Krakatoa did to reduce world temperatures by 1 degree C. All the calculations are here if you want to see them. Okay, it's all on there. So the idea that HARP or dust put up there by us or any of this so-called geoengineering can change weather in any significant way is absolutely insane. However, people will spread that story. Why will they do that? Because they want confusion. There's not a single example of a weather system or a big storm or a sizable storm of any size being created by man, or a storm even steered by man. It's complete nonsense. The only time there was a storm claimed to be steered by man was Storm Milton. And I watched it, I said no, that ain't going to happen, because there's a coronal hole there which is driving that storm. The coronal hole will go when they say it's all going to explode due to harsh. That's exactly what happened. The storm subsided when they said it was going to grow. They were talking nonsense, they're fraudsters. But where does this fraudsters coming from? Well, I would say there's two places they come from. First of all, they're charlatans who want to collect money, and politicians are stupid, so they'll make up a story, issue a patent to do nonsense, and they'll get paid to do nonsense. And the other thing is ultra-conspiracists and flat earthers around us here who just want to recruit people onto the internet to get hits. That is just a disgrace. Now, people might ask, okay, what about cloud seeding? Is that happening? Yes, it is. Local cloud seeding can be done. You can make it rain earlier than it would rain. If you've got a cloud, put the silver iodide, solid CO2, or even any fine dust will make it rain earlier. But then it will become sunnier afterwards. It won't become cloudier. The cloud will go. So the idea that all this cloud's created by them is insane as well. Completely insane. Yes.
On some days, right, you see, I think they're contrails, I don't think they're generally chemtrails. But on some days, there's a relatively clear sky,
yes,
and then you get the crisscross of all
yes.
these.
Yes.
And then it is true that a thin layer merges together.
Yeah, that's true.
Pisses people off and justifiable.
Well, that's true. No, that is true. You can do local things, which is a cloud seeding example. If you put a poison in the sky, that will do cloud seeding, and it will make it cloudier there for a short time. But that is just like ours, you know, that's the end. It's not a weather system, it's not a storm. It's not changing the jet stream.
So I spoke to a pilot about it last week.
Pilot, yeah.
The pilot.
Louder, yeah.
He's like 40 years pilot. He said at certain heights,
yes,
you'll produce these things. It's only done for the purposes of efficiency, financial efficiency. That's the only reason they fly at that height, where it's produced. At a lower height, it wouldn't be produced.
That's right. Yeah. There's always going to be a height in the atmosphere, except when it's very, very dry, where an aeroplane is flying, it will make these things. But they don't last. And even the chemtrails themselves don't normally last, but they will under the right conditions. If there's enough humidity, they will make more cloud, that's true. But the real purpose of it all is sky poisoning. That is what it is about. And we don't want to be diverted into silly arguments about is this weather control or not. Now look, these charlatans in the ARIA, and we went there, had great fun at the British Library there. The ARIA, the Advanced Research and Invention Agency, and Red Hat was there blocking a security guy trying to block me from speaking. Anyway, it was hilarious. But the point is, inside there, you've got these people who have been paid £57 million to check all these ideas to dim the sun and then try them out. Well look, for 1% of that, namely £570,000, I could tell them with a full scientific evidence that none of their theories can work whatsoever. But because they're liars and thieves, they're not going to tell the government that. They're going to take the money, piss around in the sky, upset people, and spread the lie that there is such a thing as man-made climate change. And you've got to comply with everything you're told to save the planet. It's a pack of lies.
That's right.
Our future has to be based on evidence-based science, not these charlatans, thieves and liars. And carry on with the march and action against the ARIA and demand the British Library chuck them out.
Yes.
Thank you.
Very well.
So,
Apparently they weren't there.
perhaps it's time. Well,
Apparently.
yeah, they said they weren't there after they'd been there for 45 minutes because the internet says they are there. Well, wherever they are, they don't want to be seen. That is obvious. And they're funded loads and loads of money by the British government. The real purpose of the funding, you think about it, is just ideological propaganda to get you to believe in the climate con. Because people say, well, why would the government possibly spend all this money if it wasn't true? Well, they spend it because it isn't true. They are liars, liars, and liars.
They tell you to get solar panels.
And what do we say?
They tell you to get
We
solar
say,
panels, don't they?
save the sun.
And they block out the sun.
Evidence-based science is the way forward, and that is the only science. Anything that's not based on evidence is lies and propaganda, which is what they live for. Okay, so yes, well, remind you about the farmers, because in the end the poison is aimed at them. We say, yes farmers, yes food, break the climate con! And to everybody around the world, in all, the fight back, and this is now a world slogan, came from us, it's a world slogan. As I mentioned outside the Magistrates Court on Friday, on the 5th anniversary of my arrest, right here, 5 years ago. This is now a world slogan. We say, resist, defy, do not comply. Thank you. Thank you.
Piers Corbyn!
All right. Oh, hang on. Two things to announce. Two things to announce. Take a leaflet and give money. Two things to announce. This.
Well, two things. Money and leaflets.
Well, three things then. This Wednesday the 21st, 6:30 outside New Scotland Yard. There's going to be a demo to defend all the people arrested on January the 18th. I was one of them for carrying a bunch of red tulips to the BBC, which was serious disruption of life and community. That's the first thing. The second thing, the next day, the 22nd, outside the BBC, 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock, Truth Hour, where I'm going to give a summary announcement of the whole of the summer in Britain, a forecast, and point out it's nothing to do with man-made climate change, of course, but this will be free for the public. Come there. A short summary of the whole summer, 100 days ahead. So that's this Thursday, 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock outside the BBC. So, thank you. Piers Corbyn! Resist, defy, do not comply. Big up, big up, big up.
Piers,
Thank you very much.
can you tell us what happened in your court case for the benefit of the audience? What's happening?
Well, the court case there, the one I mentioned, there's 12 people, we've been united into groups, and I'm with some others who were also arrested outside the BBC. Thank you very much, and thank everybody for coming to those events, and see you again soon.
Piers Corbyn, everyone!